Tonight, on History's Greatest Mysteries, he was an action hero, a cultural icon, a martial arts legend on the cusp of superstardom.
On screen and in person, Bruce Lee was larger than life, lightning fast, and full of charisma.
Ip Man and Bruce Lee, two legendary names that forever changed the world of martial arts. As master and student, their bond seemed unshakable, with Bruce learning the secrets of Wing Chun under Ip Man's guidance.
Following the success of Ip Man, the biopic based on the Wing Chun grandmaster and mentor to Bruce Lee.
But behind the scenes, things weren't as harmonious as they appeared. Tensions arose, leading Ip Man to make the shocking decision to stop teaching his most famous pupil. What caused this unexpected rift? Was it personal, cultural, or something even deeper? The truth behind their split remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in martial arts history, and it's a story you won't want to miss. Life on the streets of Hong Kong. Growing up in the 1950s, Hong Kong was far from an easy ride for a young Bruce. The city was bustling, with narrow streets filled with noise, energy, and a blend of old customs and new influences.
Born in the U.S. and raised in Hong Kong, Bruce Lee trained as an actor and martial artist.
Hong Kong was a melting pot where Western ideas brushed shoulders with deep-rooted Chinese traditions. On one side, you'd see the modern shops and neon lights beginning to pop up. On the other, there was an undercurrent of old-world values and tough street life. For many teenagers, including Bruce, the streets were both a playground and a battleground. In the midst of this urban chaos, Bruce found himself hanging out with groups known as Teddy Boys. These weren't formal gangs, but rather clusters of youngsters who looked for identity, respect, or just a good adrenaline rush by creating their own rules. His mixed heritage sometimes made him stand out, and while that wasn't always a bad thing, it also meant that he had to fight for acceptance. Sometimes his looks, blending Chinese features with hints of European ancestry, made him a target for teasing or exclusion by those who clung tightly to tradition. Even so, Bruce turned any challenge into fuel for his ever-growing determination. In a city where every day brought new encounters, Bruce experienced life at full throttle. The energy of the streets, the mix of Western styles and Eastern traditions, and the constant dance between performance and real struggle all played a role in shaping his character. The rough-and-ready environment of Hong Kong instilled in him the need to become more than just a flash in the pan. It set him on a path to seek real discipline, a path that would eventually lead him into the intricate world of martial arts.
The one, the only, the immortal, Bruce Lee.
He was a martial arts revolutionary and Hollywood pioneer,
where true skill was measured by control, technique, and respect for the art itself. The awakening. It wasn't long before Bruce began to see that his street brawls and movie set pranks could only take him so far when it came to real fighting. As he grew older, the playful scraps with friends started to evolve into real confrontations. There was a point when he realized that raw strength and rebellious bravado were not everything. What he really needed was a systematic way to sharpen his skills, something that would give him an edge both on the streets and later in life, when he was already carving out a reputation for his moves. This realization marked the start of a deeper search for martial arts training that went beyond what he had picked up from the local street fights. At that time, many young people in Hong Kong faced conflict on everyday grounds, whether they were going head-to-head with rivals or simply trying to protect their honor. Bruce had witnessed firsthand the difference between a quick scrap and a well-timed strike that could turn the tide of a fight. While his early life in the film world had taught him dramatic flair, it was the hard-knock lessons from the street that pushed him to seek something more substantial. He wanted a fighting method that wasn't just about style, but about efficiency, timing, and power in close-quarters combat. The spark for that real change in Bruce's life came when he started learning about Wing Chun, a martial art known for its practicality and simplicity in turbulent situations. People around him, like some of the older kids who already practiced it, had started to notice that Wing Chun wasn't just another form of fighting, It was a system that emphasized structure, balance, and the effective use of every movement. Bruce began to understand that if he wanted to be more than just a street tough, he would need to embrace a style that demanded hard work, discipline, and respect for each technique. Meeting William Chung. In the search for a structured martial arts training, Bruce's path crossed with that of William Chung.
Bruce Lee, for 4.5 years, he trained in Wing Chun.
A guy a few years older who was already making a name for himself in the local Wing Chun scene. William was respected not only for his skills, but also for his dedication and seriousness in training. When Bruce saw what William could do, it wasn't long before he wanted in. William Chung had become more than just a local fighter. He was a gateway into a world where technique and discipline mattered more than flashy moves. For Bruce, meeting William was like opening a door to a whole new level of fighting. William had been training in Wing Chun for a while under the guidance of a respected master. His movements were precise, and he knew how to use close combat techniques to handle even the toughest opponents in Hong Kong's alleys. Bruce, with his boundless energy and restless nature, was immediately drawn to this style. He saw in William not just an older, tougher guy, but a mentor who could show him the ropes of a more disciplined approach to conflict. It wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about learning a way to be confident, to control one's body, and to develop that inner sense of calm that could make all the difference when a punch was thrown. As their friendship grew, William took Bruce under his wing, giving him access to a world that wasn't as familiar to most of his peers. William's group of fellow practitioners had already started to explore the practical benefits of Wing Chun, and Bruce was eager to learn alongside them. This wasn't just about mimicking moves, it was about understanding the essence of the techniques. Even if Bruce sometimes came off as flashier or more carefree, behind his confident exterior was a burning desire to master a fighting system that could stand up to any challenge. His time with William Chung laid the groundwork for what would become a lifelong pursuit of martial arts mastery. Entering the world of Wing Chun with Ip Man. With William Chung acting as his guide, Bruce soon found himself stepping into the inner circle of Wing Chun, a world where the discipline of body and mind was the true measure of a fighter. At the center of this world was Ip Man, a revered master who had brought Wing Chun from Foshan to Hong Kong. Ip Man wasn't just any teacher. He carried with him an aura of calm authority and a reputation built on years of dedicated practice. His teaching was rooted in both physical technique and a deeper philosophy that spoke to the idea of constant learning and adaptation. While Ip Man's main classes took place in a quiet household setting in Hong Kong, where tradition and humility were expected, Bruce's style didn't quite fit the mold. He was impulsive and full of youthful energy, traits that didn't immediately win over the seasoned practitioners. Yet, there was a spark behind his antics, a genuine hunger for improvement. Ip Man, aware of the delicate balance between strict training methods and encouraging raw talent, made a choice. Rather than squashing Bruce's enthusiasm, he allowed him to continue learning, but with a twist. Bruce was gradually redirected away from the full group sessions in a bid to reduce the friction his behavior caused. This meant that Bruce would mainly train with one of Ip Man's top students rather than be immersed in the formal setting of Ip Man's house. The decision wasn't made lightly. Ip Man had a strong sense of preserving the class atmosphere and did not want discord among the students to undermine the teaching process. Yet, he also recognized that Bruce's progress could not be halted. In a way, this move marked both a setback and an opportunity.
Lee's Wing Chun is very different than ours. It's basically still muscular way of generating power.
While Bruce was now somewhat distanced from the master himself, the arrangement ensured that he continued to receive focused training, soaking in the essence of Wing Chun through a different lens. Training under Wong, Shun, Leung. After Bruce was steered away from Ip Man's central classes, his training really kicked into high gear under Wong, Shun, Leung, a top student in Ip Man's circle known for his practical fighting skills and quick reflexes. Wong Shun Leung had earned a reputation on the streets of Hong Kong as someone who knew how to mix disciplined technique with a fighter's instinct. For Bruce, training with Wong turned out to be an eye-opening experience that pushed him to rethink his approach to combat. Wong wasn't just a teacher, he was a challenger. His methods were straightforward, focusing on real fights rather than ceremonial forms. This suited Bruce just fine, as he had always been more about action than theory. From the start, Bruce was eager to learn everything he could from Wong. He'd show up with his typical flair, sometimes sporting slicked-back hair and cool sunglasses that made him look like he had stepped out of a movie. But it wasn't just his looks that caught Wong's attention. It was the relentless hunger in Bruce's eyes. He wanted to be the best, not just fight for style, but to outdo everyone around him. Despite the clear talent Bruce had, his competitive nature often got the best of him. He started pushing boundaries early on by playing pranks to secure more one-on-one time with Wong. He'd sometimes be the first to show up at training sessions and even claim that classes were canceled so that he could make an extra effort to learn from Wong individually. While this approach occasionally rubbed other students the wrong way, it was also a sign of Bruce's urgency and his desire to fast-track his progress. Wong Shun Leung's training regimen was intense and pragmatic. He taught Bruce the importance of tight, efficient movements and the idea that every strike counted. There wasn't any wasted motion in his lessons. Rather than endless repetitions of forms, they focused on drills that simulated real situations, quick footwork, rapid hand techniques, and the kind of sensitivity needed to respond to an opponent's moves. This was all about making sure that technique met timing. For Bruce, it was a trial-by-fire experience that honed his natural athletic gifts and sharpened his combat instincts. Conflict and the turning point. As Bruce's skill sharpened under Wong Shun Leung's guidance, the growing gap between him and the rest of the students started to show. His natural talent and unbridled enthusiasm were both a blessing and a curse. In a traditional martial arts setting, respect and humility were as critical as fighting ability. Bruce's high-spirited antics, pranks, and constant pursuit of extra lessons began to put him at odds with some of the more seasoned students in the Wing Chun school. Many of these students, who had put in years of hard work, felt that Bruce's behavior was disruptive and showed a lack of proper respect for the discipline. Apart from his boisterous nature, Bruce's mixed heritage also fueled tension. Being of Eurasian descent in a tightly knit, tradition-bound environment sometimes made him an easy target for those who clung to the original ideas of a pure lineage of martial arts. Some of the older students, who had trained long and hard without the advantages that Bruce's youthful swagger seemed to afford him, started to view him as an outsider. They were not just upset by his tricks, but also by the idea that he was receiving any extra attention while ignoring long-standing traditions. The frustration among the students grew, and soon the collective pressure was enough to reach the ears of Ip Man. Faced with the possibility of a disrupted learning environment, Ip Man made a tough decision. Instead of expelling Bruce outright, he decided to keep him away from the main classes that took place in his personal home. This decision was a way to honor the strict discipline of the group while still preserving Bruce's progress. It was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, Bruce was separated from the direct, nurturing environment of Ip Man's lessons. On the other, he was given the chance to continue training one-on-one with Wong Shun Leung, taking his lessons to an even more personalized level. The path to Jeet Kune Do. After years of structured training and numerous setbacks in the traditional setting, Bruce found himself at a crossroads. With a solid base in Wing Chun and an ever-growing list of skills honed under various teachers, he began to see that there was no single formula for success on the streets or in the ring. The experiences he gathered, from the strict teachings of Ip Man to the practical, sometimes rough lessons from Wong Shun Leung, had all contributed to a growing realization. Bruce understood that true fighting was not just about memorizing techniques, but about finding what worked best for the individual, adapting techniques as needed, and constantly evolving. This insight led Bruce to step away from a fixed style. He started exploring other systems and techniques outside the realm of Wing Chun alone. He began studying Western boxing, eventually picking up on ideas like footwork and timing that were different from the traditional Chinese approach. Bruce also took an interest in fencing and other martial disciplines that seemed to offer a different perspective on movement and reaction. In many ways, his approach to learning became like a personal experiment. He would test various ideas, mix and match drills, and then refine them based on what felt natural and effective. In forging this new martial art, Bruce broke away from the old idea that there was only one best way to fight. Instead, he believed that a true martial artist should absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and form their own unique expression of combat. His experiences in Hong Kong, marked by ups and downs, pranks and setbacks, became the wellspring of inspiration for this radical blend of techniques. Bruce's journey was more than just learning to fight. It was about finding his own voice and embodying a philosophy that celebrated flexibility, efficiency, and continuous growth. Today, Bruce Lee is remembered not only as a legendary actor and fighter, but also as a pioneer who redefined martial arts by rejecting rigid structures in favor of a style that was as fluid as it was powerful. His early years in Hong Kong, filled with challenges and unconventional lessons, ultimately set him on a path that changed the way the world looked at fighting and personal expression. His legacy remains a reminder that sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs come from the courage to step beyond tradition and learn from every twist and turn life throws your way. While everyone enjoyed the beautiful weather on a calm morning, a powerful tsunami suddenly struck the Pacific island nation of Tonga. Its massive waves reached shores far beyond, and it became the sole focus of breaking news across continents. Warnings were sent from the United States West Coast to Alaska, causing people to scramble to safety. The source of this catastrophe was traced to a volcanic eruption at Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai.
Every aspect of this eruption will be analyzed: the explosion, the ash cloud, the shockwave. But one of the first things being studied is simply the timeline.
Near the infamous Mariana Trench. But what caused this unexpected eruption, and how have scientists managed to understand this rare geological phenomenon? Join us as we explore this strange volcanic eruption and what the volcano might still have in store. The unexpected volcanic eruption. The Mariana Trench, located in the Pacific Ocean, is not just another underwater canyon. It holds the Challenger Deep, the deepest known point on Earth, plunging over 36,000 feet into darkness. This trench has long fascinated researchers with its mysteries, from its crushing pressures to its unique marine life, but no one expected it to be the stage for a volcanic eruption. The deep-sea earthquakes that preceded the disaster hinted at something unusual, but the scale of what followed was beyond imagination. Tectonic plate boundaries, the unseen giants beneath our feet, are crucial to understanding many geological events, including this eruption. The Mariana Trench, located at the meeting point of the Pacific and Philippine plates, is a region of immense geological activity. Over time, these two plates have been pushing against each other, building up enormous stress. This stress is a natural result of the plate's movement, but when it becomes too great, it can be released in violent events like volcanic eruptions or earthquakes. The eruption near the Mariana Trench was one such event where this accumulated stress finally found an outlet. In the days and weeks leading up to the eruption, there were several early signs of impending geological activity.
A massive underwater volcano in Tonga triggered tsunami waves across the world.
Subtle shifts in the Earth's crust, barely noticeable to the naked eye, were detected by specialized sensors. These shifts showed that the tectonic plates were moving, signaling that pressure was beginning to build. The surrounding water's temperature also began to rise, a sign of increased geothermal activity beneath the surface. Gases like carbon dioxide and methane were released from deep within the Earth, and this proved that something huge was about to occur. While these signs were detected by advanced monitoring systems, they still did not fully prepare scientists for the magnitude of the eruption that would follow. The sheer force with which the magma, ash, and gases erupted from the depths caught everyone by surprise, emphasizing the unpredictability of these natural forces. When the volcano finally unleashed its fury, It was a spectacle of both beauty and terror. A massive column of magma, ash, and gases burst into the ocean, creating plumes that reached unimaginable heights. The heat from the eruption rapidly evaporated seawater, adding to the chaos. Ash clouds darkened the skies, while shock waves rippled through the water, triggering tsunamis that traveled thousands of miles. This chain reaction of events shows the interconnectedness of Earth's systems, where an underwater eruption could influence global weather patterns and ocean currents. Typically, an eruption of this gravity had huge impacts on the Earth, reaching far beyond the immediate area of destruction. But what effects exactly did this eruption have on the Earth? Let's find out. The impact of the eruption on the Earth.
The eruption was so powerful that it was recorded around the world and heard as far away as Alaska. It triggered giant waves along the Pacific coastlines from Japan to the United States.
As expected, the eruption near the Mariana Trench caused huge changes in the Earth's environment. The eruption's impact reached across the planet, from local disturbances to global consequences. One particular effect of the eruption was the formation of a volcanic plume and intense submarine explosions. This was an incredible and dramatic event, not only because of the scale of the eruption, but also because it brought about new changes in the geography of the region. In fact, the eruption even led to the formation of a potential new island, proving how Earth's surface is constantly evolving. As lava and ash were released into the ocean, they began a cycle of destruction and renewal that affects both the land and the sea. Marine ecosystems were severely disrupted by the eruption. Hydrothermal vents, which are important to supporting many marine species, were buried under thick layers of ash and debris. These vents, which release hot water rich in minerals, support an entire ecosystem of unique creatures. By burying them, the eruption temporarily destroyed these habitats. That's not all. At the same time, new habitats began to form as the volcanic activity created fresh conditions for marine life to evolve. The eruption not only destroyed existing life forms, but also paved the way for new ones to thrive. But the effects of the eruption don't end there. It also resulted in the release of gases into the atmosphere and the oceans. This eventually altered the water chemistry. It's no surprise that this was a major event for marine life, especially for coral reefs. Coral reefs are highly sensitive to changes in water temperature and chemistry. The gases released from the eruption affected the water's pH, potentially harming the corals and disturbing the balance of life around them. As these reefs are home to thousands of marine species, any disruption can lead to cascading effects on the entire ecosystem. This alteration in water chemistry could cause coral bleaching, where corals lose their vibrant colors and become weak, eventually leading to their death. The death of coral reefs would impact the many species that depend on them for food and shelter, disrupting entire food chains in the process. Things don't end there. The eruption also raised concerns about the risk of tsunami waves due to potential undersea landslides caused by the volcanic activity. These tsunamis, which are devastating, eventually happened, and although they were not that strong, the possibility of huge tsunami waves hitting coastal areas kept scientists and communities on high alert.
Within 20 minutes, a rush of waves hit the tiny island nation. Startled locals rushed to find higher ground as water crashed its way through. A river flooding streets and buildings, including this church.
The eruption demonstrated how interconnected Earth's systems are, where one event in the ocean can have a ripple effect that impacts everything from marine life to human communities. Coastal regions were closely monitored for any signs of tsunami activity, and advisories were issued to help protect people living in these areas. As the eruption continued to shape the environment, scientists worked tirelessly to understand the full extent of its impact. The eruption of such magnitude also had a huge impact on the civilians living near the affected areas. People who lived close to the Mariana Trench, especially those in nearby islands like Tonga, faced immediate dangers. The eruption caused a series of massive explosions and volcanic plumes that sent ash and gases into the sky, which could be seen from miles away. The air became thick with ash, making it difficult to breathe. People living near the coast had to quickly evacuate as tsunami warnings were issued, fearing huge waves from underwater explosions and landslides. Coastal communities were put on high alert, and many had to leave their homes, often with little time to gather belongings. As the ash rained down, it disrupted daily life in many places. People had to cover their faces to protect themselves from the harmful particles in the air. The air quality became hazardous, affecting not only humans, but also animals and plants. The ashfall also affected agriculture, as crops could be destroyed by the heavy layer of ash. People had to deal with the destruction of their homes, businesses, and livelihoods. The ocean currents also changed, and marine life was impacted. Fishermen faced difficulties as fish and other marine animals were displaced or killed by changes in the water. It is quite obvious that the effects of this eruption were felt in many ways, from the deep oceans to the atmosphere. How exactly are these two concepts connected? Keep watching to find out. The connection between the eruption and Earth's sustainability.
Communication with Tonga remains very limited, and I know that is causing a huge amount of anxiety for the Tongan community here who are trying to get hold of loved ones back home.
The eruption near the Mariana Trench triggered a lot of interest among scientists, as it revealed important aspects of Earth's deep processes. One of the most important things that happened was the involvement of a multinational research team using advanced technology to study the eruption. This technology included underwater drones that allowed scientists to gather detailed information about the eruption's effects on the ocean and the surrounding environment. Through these efforts, they were able to discover rare earth elements in the magma released during the eruption. These rare earth elements are minerals that are in high demand for many modern technologies, such as electronics, renewable energy systems, and electric vehicles. The discovery of these elements caused great interest in the possibility of deep-sea mining in the area. Scientists and business people began to look at this eruption as an opportunity to access these precious resources that lie deep beneath the ocean's surface. But these scientists also had a few concerns about the whole situation. They warned that mining in such fragile underwater ecosystems could lead to irreversible damage. The unique marine life that exists around deep-sea hydrothermal vents, for example, could be wiped out by the disturbance caused by mining operations. The deep ocean is still largely unexplored, and we do not fully understand the delicate balance that exists within these ecosystems. Mining for rare earth elements could have a huge impact on the biodiversity in these deep-sea environments, disrupting the delicate food chains that depend on the rich mineral and chemical environment created by underwater volcanic activity. The eruption itself demonstrated how even natural processes, like volcanic eruptions, can bring about major changes in the Earth's systems, and it also showed how human activity can either help or harm these systems. The eruption showed just how interconnected the Earth's different systems are. The release of magma, gases, and ash into the ocean impacted marine ecosystems, but it also affected the atmosphere, leading to changes in weather patterns and potentially global climate. As these scientists continue to study the eruption and its consequences, it becomes clear that understanding Earth's deep processes is essential for sustaining the planet. The data gathered from this event has provided valuable insights into how Earth's internal forces work, such as the way magma rises from the mantle and how volcanic eruptions occur. This information helps scientists better understand the forces that drive volcanic activity and how they contribute to the overall functioning of the planet. This deeper understanding of Earth's inner workings is very important for predicting and preparing for future geological events, such as eruptions or earthquakes, which can have serious consequences for human life and the environment. The eruption also shows that no matter how much we try to control or predict events, the forces of nature often have their own plans. The eruption is a testament to the fact that Earth is constantly changing, and our understanding of its processes is still developing. As much as we learn, there is always more to discover, and each new discovery brings with it both challenges and opportunities. The eruption has brought about a conversation about the need for exploration, conservation, and collaboration in understanding Earth's dynamics. Exploration is important because it allows us to gather more knowledge about the planet's processes and how they impact life on Earth. The eruption gave us a rare opportunity to observe the effects of volcanic activity in a place that is difficult to access and study. It showed the importance of using advanced technology, like underwater drones, to explore areas that are not easily reached. At the same time, this exploration must be balanced with conservation efforts to protect the planet's natural resources and ecosystems. Share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.